So let's kick off with the ones with the most votes for now. So we have one from Romario who asks, can a potential project or proposal be submitted with a focus on multiple regions, for example, Caribbean and Africa?
Yeah, I can take that one. Thanks, Nicola. Just to say yes, we'd really kind of like encourage that kind of ways of working in terms of the scope across different regions and working with different organizations as well. So yeah, really encourage that kind of working and networking.
Thanks, Vicky.
Thanks.
So the next question is, oh, sorry, my screen has gone again. Okay, it's from Katie. Sorry for that. She asked, is there any match funding requirement?
Happy to take this one. So there is not a necessary match funding requirement. We will be asking projects to report if they have any match funding, and being able to demonstrate that you are leveraging additional finance or supporting additional activities through match funding or securing co-funding would be part of the expert committee. The expert committee would be looking at this and would be taking that into consideration as part of their assessment. So no formal requirements for match funding, but please do consider it in your approach as it could support scalability and scaling of your project activities.
Right, we've got a couple of questions from Oyton, who's asking, what are your plans around creating synergies and avoiding duplications with the grants programme planned under the COAST programme and other Blue Planet Fund programmes? How will the ocean grants be different from those other grants?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Thanks for that one. In terms of how we assess the projects going forward, so we do have the kind of like expert panel that will be looking with that kind of like lens as well, but we'll also be putting any kind of like recommended projects that actually look like they've got kind of like possibility to go further to the BPF, to the Blue Planet Fund Programme Management Board. So that oversees all of the kind of like programs that are currently undergoing within the Blue Planet Fund and COAST as well. So we'll be able to kind of like have that kind of like reference point to make sure that we've not got duplication being undertaken within this grant programme itself, and we're actually aligning where possible to other Blue Planet Fund activities.
Thanks, Vicky. So I think that the sound wasn't quite clear on that one. So if you could repeat, I'm not sure if it's your headset or yeah.
Sorry, probably a bit of both with my voice as well. It's a bit crackly today. Yeah, just to say that the Blue Planet Fund has a programme management board that will see and have oversight of all of the kind of like recommended projects that come through from the expert sifting command, the expert committee. So those kind of like sifted programs will kind of like come through for review so that we actually get that quality assurance that we're not duplicating and we are aligning with other programs underneath the Blue Planet Fund. I don't know if that was any better, sorry.
It was a little bit better that time, thank you. And then a follow-up question is, what are your plans to facilitate collaboration between the locally led organisations and larger international organisations under the Partnerships Grants pathway? Will these be included in the evaluation and assessment criteria?
Yeah, I can take that one. So basically, yes, it will be a part of the evaluation and assessment criteria. We want, under the partnerships, as Hannah explained, it is a requirement for projects to have a in-country organisation as their partner to be eligible for the for funding. So all organisations are expected to have at least one in-country partner as the part of their application. We really strongly encourage for these to be locally led organisations, community groups, people working in local contexts with organisations or communities or people that are most impacted by declining ocean health and climate change. So this will be an emphasis of the programme, and something we want to communicate to everyone, that we encourage you to try and make those local partnerships where possible and at the locally led level. And it will also be incorporated into the assessment and the evaluation criteria and communicated to our expert panel so that they are able to assess this as well and factor that into their decisions and recommendations for funding.
Sorry, thanks. Our next question is, will you provide any support for the preparation of applications for the community grants?
So we're going to have some webinars that you can attend to provide some additional information and guidance. There are guidance documents available, and we have the help desk function in case you can't find your answer or you are unclear about something.
Yeah, we
Thanks,
would really
Valerie.
encourage reaching out via the help desk, and if you're wanting to actually speak to one of us individually as well, then we can arrange that as well. But if you can kind of like ask for any of that kind of like help or support through the help desk function, that'd be really great. Thank you.
Thanks. Now, Julia asks, what is the role of the British Embassy? Should they be contacted in the drafting phase before submitting the application, or after the approval before the project starts?
I can take that one. So yeah, just in relation to this, it's very much in terms of making sure that projects that are being put forward are kind of like are aligning to kind of like regional and kind of like country program initiatives or objectives. We're wanting to really kind of like broaden that networking for these project proposals and making sure that there's awareness out there and really building that capacity and guess empowering that alignment to kind of like local government or kind of like broader activities going on as well within marine protection. So in terms of kind of like reaching out, if you're unsure, then please do kind of like contact us at the help desk in terms of a point of contact who would be best for you to kind of like actually reach out to. Appreciate it's different in different regions and different countries. So again, it can differ between that, but for a lot of the organizations, we're wanting to get that reassurance that you are a proper organization, that you are kind of like real to us. Obviously, it's part of our kind of like risk guidance and kind of like due diligence process that we need to just ensure that kind of like the activities you're doing, that you are respected within your region.
Thanks. Our next question. Would you mind explaining why you require the lead organisation of the partnership grant to have an income of over £1 million annually, especially given the fact that applicants are likely in areas that are underfunded to begin with and can't be in the private sector?
I can take that one, and yeah, please jump in, Billy, or others if needed. Yeah, so from the community grants, obviously that isn't a requirement, it's under 1 million. For the partnership grants, the real purpose for the partnership grants is to really get that scalability and to really have kind of like organizations that are well versed in being able to distribute funds and really build in capacity building across multiple organizations at the community level. So that's why we're kind of like really enforcing that one a little bit. So it's more of a usual suspects, if you like, in terms of that grant funding mechanism, but really just to make sure that that funding is being allocated at the community level, but it's really scalable as well. Whereas the community grants, that is where we're really looking for those organizations which obviously don't have that much funding annually and really wanting to kind of like start empowering the process of them accessing these funds, which probably weren't available at the same level before. And so in terms of that, I think the community grants is kind of like where you'd be looking for to in terms of applying on that particular question. Apologies for my voice.
Thanks, that's very clear. So moving on to the next question. Does the grant, especially the partnership grant, require co-financing? And if so, what is the ratio?
Yeah, happy to take that. So it's not a requirement for co-financing. So as we mentioned before, we would welcome projects to demonstrate that they have match funding or co-financing for their project. And this would be looked at as part of the application process and assessment by our expert committee to understand whether the project is able to leverage or incorporate other financiers or match funding into the support the scale of their project. But it's not a requirement, and there is no ratio associated with a necessary amount of co-financing. So we are open to projects either coming to us with match funding or without.
Thanks. Another question from Emmy. Is it possible for a larger organisation to receive and manage the funding on behalf of a consortium of smaller community-based nonprofits?
I think happy to take this, Vicky, if you want to come in. But
Yeah.
From my perspective, this is the model and the ethos of Ocean. We want those larger organisations to be able to be working with smaller community-based non-profits and to be able to support the channel funding to the local level. So for me, if this is a larger organisation, either at the partnership or at the community grants level, whichever funding mechanism or pathway that you would be interested in applying in, I would still encourage that you create partnerships with local community-based non-profits where possible to try and facilitate reaching and channeling that funding down and the impact down to communities that are working at the local level. So yes, I think is the answer to your question, really.
And now a question from Innocent. Is an organisation limited on the number of applications within departments to be allowed to send 2 applications? So I think the question is asking about how many applications one organisation can send, and do you count a department within an organisation as one organisation or more?
I think I can answer that one. So there is no official limit to the number of applications one organization can submit. But if one organization submits more than 1 application, this will be reviewed by the expert committee when evaluating applications. So our suggestion is to make sure you speak with your colleagues and other departments and just put forward your best project.
Thanks, Valentina. The next question is from Simon, who asks, can the project tackle more than one thematic area? For example, mangrove restoration and seaweed farming.
Yeah, and happy to take this one as well. Yes, you can. You will see that in the application forms, you'll get 3 main questions, one around Blue Planet Fund outcomes, one on taxa, and one on ecosystems. You will be able to choose multiple options. We also have an other option where you can specify anything that's not listed. So the short answer is yes, you can cover more than one thematic area, and you'll be able to explain what those areas are in the application form.
Our next question is from Nick, who's already been in touch with the help desk. And the help desk told them that projects in the upper middle income countries and territories will have to demonstrate a stronger case for support. Could you provide any more detail on that?
Ethan, I think you answered this one in the chat. Did you want to come in on this one?
Yeah, sorry, could you just repeat the question? I've just been reading questions in the chat.
Yeah, no problem, Ethan. So the question was about upper middle income countries and territories. So they've been told that they have to demonstrate a stronger case for support. So could you provide any more details on that?
Yeah, I think the point is that they just need to really clearly demonstrate how they're going to meet the marine protection outcome and the poverty reduction element. So that might be slightly more difficult to do in an upper middle income country. But as long as you can clearly demonstrate that you're working towards those 2 key areas, then that's absolutely fine and you'd be eligible.
Yeah, and just to add, you will find the additional requirements in the guidance note, Nick, so you'll be able to read them there as soon as the guidance is available next few days by the 5th.
Thanks both. Our next question is from Lydia, who asks, how many partners can a partnership grant include? And are partnership grants in one country or regional or global?
Happy to answer that. So There is no limit at the moment in terms of the number of partners that can be incorporated in the project proposal. We do encourage where possible that you are ensuring that any partners detailed in your application have been meaningfully engaged with as part of the project design and concept, as we don't want just additional partners added onto the application form to try and make an application look more strengthened, to help strengthen the application. We want partnerships to be part of the design, concept, implementation, monitoring of the program. They need to be embedded into the system. So we encourage partnerships, and there is no limit, but do make sure that they are meaningful partnerships and that you are engaging properly with all your partners presented in the application.
Thanks. So our next question on list, we might need a bit of clarification from Paula on this. Paula asks, in the Colombian call for proposals, INVAMAR, WWF, CI, and the Humboldt Institute are mentioned. So Ocean doesn't have a Colombian call for proposals specifically. So this is a global call, so you might be referring to one of the other Blue Planet Fund programs. But you were asking for clarification on the specific roles that these institutions play in the call for proposals. So over to the panel in case you have some more information to provide there, but if not, maybe you can clarify in the QA, Paula, and we can get back to you later.
Yeah, I'd welcome a little bit more clarification on that one. I did see that question come in, but yeah, essentially we're open to kind of like all of those different organizations. We're not definitely targeting any particular ones here. So yeah, whether that's come up in a different grant call, then that may be the case. But for this one, we don't have that kind of targeted focus at all on certain organizations in relation to NGOs.
Thanks, Victoria. Lucita asks, can we apply for both grants?
I would say that yes and no. So obviously we have specific criteria and eligibility requirements for each funding pathway. So you need to make sure that as a lead organization, which pathway you are eligible to apply for as a lead organization, and only apply in that pathway there. However, we would welcome you to be, for instance, a lead organization on a community grant, and also a partner organization as part of a wider consortium or partnership on a partnerships grants. So it is possible to be part of both grant schemes or pathways, but you can't be a lead organization on both funding pathways given the specific requirements. And the main factor in this would be the fact that for the community grants, you have to have an annual income of less than £1 million, and for the partnership grants, you have to have an annual income of more than £1 million. So a really kind of clear distinguishment between the two funds there to be a lead organisation.
Thanks. Next is a question from Samuel, who asks, will there be a list of specific ineligible costs as part of the application?
I think in the finance guidance, you'll find an annex with the list of ineligible costs. So we sort of invite you to read that. And yes, it's specified.
Great, so that you can take a look at that guidance when it's published up on our website. Next question is from Beth. Does your organization require audits for the last 3 years? Because we are a newer NGO with 2 years of audits.
So I can take this one. For our community grants pathway, we are asking organizations to provide 2 years of detailed financial information so that we can understand the organization's position financially and annual income, and for our own kind of due diligence purposes. And then for a partnerships grant, we're asking for 3 years of financial assessments and information. So if you are, Beth, looking to apply for a community grants, then yes, you will be eligible with just 2 years of audits. And we don't need audited accounts for all levels of community grants. The levels of requirements will be detailed in the finance guidance, so please do check there. If you are looking at applying for the partnership grants with an annual income of more than £1 million, then yes, unfortunately, we would be looking for 3 years of audits so that we've got confidence that the organisation is able and has experience implementing projects at scale.
But Beth could potentially come in next year because we're running it every October for the next few years. So yeah, there's always that opportunity later down the line, Beth.
Thanks. Moving on to a question from Samuel. What will the technical and financial reporting requirements of the community grants be? Are these monthly, quarterly, biannual, for example?
Yeah, happy to take this one as well. So we will be expecting community grants to provide a 6-month or half-year report to just provide an update on project activities and progress. And we're designing this in a way to be hopefully not too onerous or detailed, because we're aware that reporting requirements can be quite a lot at times, and we don't want to distract away from you being able to implement the projects that you've been awarded funding for. So there will be a 6-month or half-year report, and then we will be expecting an annual report on progress. And this will be a more detailed report so that we can gain understanding of your project and progress. If you are going to find it difficult to submit written reports, we are open to discussions around alternative reporting mechanisms for the community grants pathway as well. So we'll be able to pick this up on a case-by-case basis, and please do let us know if you have any issues with this. And then just finally, from a financial perspective, we will be asking projects to submit quarterly claims. So you will need to submit your claim for your next quarter grant disbursement every 3 months, and with this claim you will need to just indicate your actual spend from the previous quarter as well.
Thanks, Billy. Next from Kevin, who asks, can lead organisations have subgrants or implementing partners?
I can take this one. I think we're talking about encouraging partnerships wherever possible. So from my reading of this from Kevin, of an implementing partner, we would encourage you to create partners to support the implementation of your projects. And so yes, in terms of subgrants, it's something we may need to take away, but I don't think we would be considering organisations to distribute subgrants as part of their project activities. We'd be looking you to partner with organisations and support their development and capacity building alongside implementing activities that support both the marine environment and poverty reduction.
Our next question is from Antonio, who asks, can part of the funding be allocated to support local government capacity to address marine conservation needs as part of a broader theory of change for the concept to know?
So government agencies they can be partners, but they cannot receive funding. So I think the answer is no, you wouldn't be able to allocate funds to a local government.
Okay, thanks. And our next question is from Maria, who asks, will we have an application template? And can we confirm the date for the submission of proposals?
Sure. So yes, you'll be able to download a Word document, which is exactly the application questions you'll have to answer on FlexiGrant. So the call opens on Monday, the 5th of February. For community grants, it closes on the 18th of March, and for partnership grants on the 2nd of April. And then both community grants and partnership grants will have a stage 2 application, but that will be by invitation only.
Thanks, Valentina. Our next question is from Lydia, who asks, what about coastal rivers and estuaries? Are those included as part of the marine?
Yeah, I can take that. Thanks, Nicola. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Within coastal waters, and so estuarine and kind of like those coastal waters will be, yeah, part of it, definitely.
Thanks. And our next question is from Lena, who asks, could an organization that's registered as a company in a country, but has in its mission a non-profit purpose, be eligible as a lead organization?
It's a good question. I think we may need to just have a think about that one and come back to you, Lena. In terms, I would recommend maybe contacting our help desk so that we can follow up with you directly on this, because I imagine it's quite a specific case and we'll be able to give you an answer directly. So maybe send us an email on helpdesk@oceangrants.org.uk and we can get back to you on that one.
Thanks, Billy. Next, a question from Ronan, who asks if a university is the lead partner, are postdoctoral positions eligible for funding? And what guidance is there on how much research which could increase understanding of processes within an ecosystem? How much is this valued in an application versus implementing practical actions that are aiming towards positive change?
Okay, so I might need Billy to come in on this as well with me. But from a university perspective, yes, we'd be kind of like looking at them to partner. It very much depends in terms of the funding of where the universities kind of like actually get their funding from. If it is government-based funding, then we'd need a little bit more clarity around that. So it's a bit of more of a complicated one than a yes or no answer, I'm afraid. If you are government funded, then we wouldn't be able to have you as a lead organization, but you would be able to partner. And in relation to the research that you're talking about, absolutely, that's a kind of key component that we want to really kind of like enforce and encourage. So we would see the value of that, definitely. In terms of its implication, how it's been implemented at the community level, we'd need to see that kind of justification within that research. So how that research is actually being used at the coastal and community level. So it would really need to kind of like show that within its kind of like research element and how it's benefiting those local communities.
Yeah, I disagree with Vicky on that one, and just would emphasize that if it is a research component, you need to really clearly demonstrate how your research will contribute to poverty reduction and in protecting the marine environment, being two key critical areas for the fund.
Thanks. Maybe it's time to, there's one comment that slipped through it's not quite a question, but I think it's a nice one, so I'll read it out loud. So Nahora wanted just to congratulate and because they appreciate the focus on community empowerment to solve the ocean crisis. So thanks for that, Nahora. Okay, moving on to the next question. We've got one from Jeremy, who asks us to repeat the information about consultation with High Commission embassies. What is the specific information that they need to be informed about?
Okay, so yeah, I can take that one up. Yeah, it's literally just informing them of the project proposal and your intention to kind of actually what you're wanting to take forward. As much as anything, it's to ensure that they've got awareness of your program. And so opening up that kind of understanding and hopefully opening up networks as well in terms of empowering your own program itself. So creating that kind of like broader awareness. But it's very much from our side, we want to kind of like have that reassurance as well that you are reaching out as much as you can to those organizations. And we can help point you in that direction as well, if needed.
Thanks. Next up, Ricardo is asking, are there any examples of successful grant applications?
I think I can take this one, given that this is round one, and we don't have any examples of successful grant applications quite yet. This will be the first time we're accepting applications to Ocean. However, what I can suggest is that you maybe have a look at the Biodiversity Challenge Fund's website, where the Darwin Initiative and IWT Challenge Fund both feature applications of successful projects, and that could give you an idea of the types of projects that, or how to submit a successful application. But please do note that the Biodiversity Challenge Fund and Ocean are two very distinct separate funds, and so although the process looks quite similar, you cannot apply to both funds with the same project. You can only choose one or the other fund to apply to. And if you do want to apply and consider to apply into either Ocean or Biodiversity Challenge funds, please clearly check the eligibility and selection criteria, because we've got different processes and different points for making assessments of applications. So although it's a great place to learn more about potential other successful projects, please do make sure to read really clearly our own guidance and not just think that you'll be eligible to apply for Ocean based off either having experienced the Biodiversity Challenge funds before.
Thanks, Billy. Our next question is, will there be flexibility around the evaluation of applications received for community grants? Because local organisations have different maturity around areas like compliance, financial management, and other due diligence areas.
Yeah, I can take that. So yes, absolutely. I think within the concept note, we're very much looking at the idea that you actually want to put forward. So that's where we're kind of like be weighting the actual kind of like success of whether your proposal goes to the next stage. And then we'd be making sure that if you were successful in terms of your concept, then we would kind of like provide you with the right support going forward to help you take it to the next stage to actually go through to successful completion of or award of the program. So I don't know if Billy, you want to jump in on that any further?
No, I think that's right. I think we are just taking an approach where the level of organisation and understanding that for some organisations applying to the community grants, there will be different levels of development in the organisation and maturity around compliance. And so, yeah, we will have a sliding scale in terms of our due diligence areas, but there will be necessary requirements that unfortunately we do have to meet as part of our assurances as a competitive fund.
Yeah, and I think within the guidance as well, it will be laid out in terms of the levels of due diligence that we'll be looking at for different amounts of funding awarded. So again, there should be that kind of like, hopefully flexibility in terms of that level of support as well. But yeah, a lot of this will be in the guidance, which will be going live on Monday.
Great.
Thanks.
Nicola, just a quick time check. We've got 5 minutes left, so I think we'll answer questions up for 3 or 4 more minutes, and then we'll close up.
Great. So maybe just a final call for people to have a look up what their favourite questions, because we've got a lot of questions all sort of the same level. So I'm just reading it in order as they come on my screen. But if you have any burning ones that you want answered, please click the thumbs up button. So moving on to the next question. The question is, does Ocean co-finance projects?
I think we've touched on this a little bit. We will accept co-finance and co-match funding as part of your project. We just ask that this is clearly indicated in your application, and there's a specific section within the budget template that will allow for this. And I think talking budget templates, there is a question from here that I could maybe go on to from Amar regarding budgets and asking if there is a budget template provided. And yes, we will have a budget template on the website. Just to be aware, there is 2 formats for the budget template. There's a more simple version for grants totaling under £100,000 and a more detailed budget template for grants over £100,000. So please do make sure to select the correct budget template when you are completing this.
Great, thank you. And one from Tanya. Would a partnership with a large NGO and an application under the partnerships mechanism preclude a local partner from also submitting their own application under the community mechanism?
I think a local organization can be a lead of a community grants application, and it could be a partner of a partnership grants application.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Louise asks, can the partnership grant be used to pay human resources from the organisation to work on the project?
So I would refer to the finance guidance. So staff costs are allowed, but the finance guidance details exactly how to treat staff costs. So because it's quite a detailed answer, I would refer to the finance guidance. But then if that doesn't answer your doubts, please come to us and we'll pick it up. But you should be able to find all answers to this in the finance guidance.
Great. Another one from Frederick, who asks, for the partnership grant, the minimum annual budget of £1 million, could that be considered by all the partners together?
I can take this because I think we had a similar question this morning. So it has to be the lead organisation that has the minimum annual budget of £1 million for partnership grants. It can't be a kind of total or sum of various partners together. Because we have to create a contract or agreement with just the lead organisation only, and this is part of the process of being able to award larger grants to a lead organisation, just a single lead organisation that can channel this funding down. It has to just be the minimum annual budget from the lead organisation only, so it can't be a collective sum.
Thanks, Billy. Do we have time for a couple more questions, or?
Maybe we can have time for one or two more.
Okay. So I'll just select from the list some that we haven't touched upon yet. Someone is asking about how a consultancy firm can participate.
So a consultancy firm, being private sector, could be a partner on a project, but it can't be a lead organisation because lead organisations have to be non-profit. And if you are a private sector consultancy partnering on a project, we would just want you to really demonstrate that this is demonstrating good value for money for the project. So just keep that in mind when submitting your application, that you can be a partner as part of a wider consortia, but yeah, it needs to demonstrate good value for money.
And maybe a last one from Nadia, who's asking, what are your plans to facilitate collaboration between the locally led organisations and the larger international organisations under the partnership grants? And are these included in the evaluation criteria?
Yeah, I can take this last one. So we are trying to set up various systems to promote networking and mutual kind of learning and support systems. So we'll have the Ocean Community, which will be a learning and networking platform that will be inviting individuals and stakeholders, applicants, grantees to attend and be part of the group, and trying to foster that collaboration and communication across different organisations, both international and locally led. In terms of under the partnership grant specifically, it will be part of the evaluation and assessment criteria that that these partnerships are kind of meaningful and have been created to benefit the programme. And so the expert committee will be taking time to just basically assess the potential partnerships on offer and the involvement that those partners are going to have as part of the project. So do make sure to try and clearly demonstrate the roles and responsibilities of any partners identified and why you've created these partnerships in your application form. I think that's time. So we'll just end and just say thank you very much to everyone for all of your questions and for joining us today. I hope that you have found the session useful, and that you've learnt more about Ocean and the opportunity for funding that will be launching on the 5th of February. Just a couple of quick reminders for myself. Please do reach out to our help desk if you need any help and support. The email address is on the slide now. And the fund and both application windows, so the community grants and partnership grants, will both be launching on the 5th of February. And please get your applications in before the 18th of March and the 2nd of April for the two different funds. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming today. I don't know if Vicky, you want to say anything else to to close?
Yeah, no, just thank you so much, everybody, for all your engagement on this. And yeah, just really excited to actually be able to launch this live. It's been a long time coming. A lot of planning has gone into this. So yeah, really excited to get all of your engagement now and get up and running. So yeah, please check us out on Monday. And yeah, look forward to seeing your applications. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.